I know how people will say, where are we? We've got no representation. Like, because you kicked us whilst we were down.
Yeah.
You wouldn't give us a chance. We can't be your perfect version of Asian. Can't we just be grateful that we've got Asians on TV? We've got Asians at least somewhat representing us.
Friend.
British American fashion designer
from the Emmy award-winning show Queer Eye,
Host of the web series Dressing Funny, and co-host of
Next in Fashion.
I think that people are very, very shocked when they hear me interview as opposed to when they see me on Queer Eye. On Queer Eye, I'm edited a lot. They always said, you're the Brit, we want you to be the classy one.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because so many Brits are on, and I was never the classy one. I was trashed through and through. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with social. I'm done with being an entertainer. I'm going to quit it all.
I'm Radhi Devlukia, and on my podcast, A Really Good Cry, we embrace the real, the messy, and the beautiful, providing a space for raw, unfiltered conversations that celebrate vulnerability and allow you to tune in to learn, connect, and find comfort together. Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say that I am genuinely so excited and so honored that you came on this podcast.
Thanks,
You
man.
have so many things going on, but I really appreciate it. I admire you so much.
Thank you so
I
much.
love everything that you've done. You have been an icon in my life and so many people's that I know. And reading your book, I absolutely adored it because I could hear your voice through every single sentence.
Yeah, I swear a lot.
I could literally reading the words. Your voice was in my ear as I was reading it, and I love that you could feel you through your book so much.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Of course.
Thank
Thanks
you for it
having
all.
me. I love that you're having me on this. I'm really honored.
Me
Thanks
too.
so much.
And I really appreciated your honesty through the book and how vulnerable you are about topics which some people may shy away from.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the work that you do right now, which is literally helping people be comfortable and love themselves so deeply. But then when I was reading your book, it made me so sad because of the things that you've been through, where you almost were trying to, because of society, erase so much of yourself from a young age.
Yeah.
And so I really want to talk to you and start off with that and how it was for you. Like, what was it that got you from that place to who you are now?
The main thing is this that I feel now. People ask a lot, how is it to be able to help people? How is it to make somebody who doesn't feel great about themselves feel good about themselves? And I'm not talking about on Queer Eye, I'm talking about in every walk of life. I'm a peppy, positive person, a peppy, positive Brit, which actually is not quite common for any American out there. That is not. I am quite an anomaly. And it's because I've thought a lot about it. I've never done therapy, but I've thought a lot about it. And I think when you go through such adversity as a kid, and you then understand how to regulate your emotions, you understand how to process fear, anger, hurt, upset, all those things. I think that it puts you in a really strong position as you're older to be able to help people with theirs. Because quite honestly, if I've workshopped anything in my life, it's not anything that I do in the fashion space. It's nothing I do in the style space. It's what I do with my emotions.
Totally.
And that came from such a young age. Gosh, this is going to be way too much to go into, but I'm just going to go.
No, please, we would love hearing
when
it.
you start your life physically fighting your way to safety, that does something to a kid. It makes you process things in a really different way to most kids. And so I would see these floaty kids floating around the playground yard thinking, God, that life must be nice. You're just trying to have fun with your friends playing on your Game Boy or whatever. I'm thinking, am I going to make it home alive today? Those kind of struggles make sure that you are constantly working on, can I still be strong? Can I still process who I am as a person? Are they knocking me down constantly? Who am I really? Am I a product of them, or am I a product of my family and my friends? And so when you have that your whole life, all you can do is, I would like to believe, all you can and should do is help others process those feelings as they get older. It's not something I ever thought I would do as a career. I thought I'm going to make girls feel pretty in a dress. But I think that Queer Eye really did help me open up this thing in my heart and my mind and my career that I never thought possible.
And how did you end up processing that fear? Because for you, how long a period were you living, would you say, in fear in your childhood?
The whole time I lived in the UK.
Wow.
I started to really move out of the UK in my early 20s. I'm not shading the UK. I love the UK. I
Yeah.
love the people in the UK. But as we all know, it's the very vocal few that can really impact who you are.
Yeah.
And so it was those vocal few that really scared me and worried me and made me fearful of living in a country like England. And so when I was in my early 20s, I finally got to the point where I just thought, I don't think I'm ever going to get over these feelings. And even if there wasn't that physical fear anymore, even if I thought, well, I can protect myself, I still couldn't get over the fact
Yeah.
that I'd had 20 years of feeling this way. It's not easy to get over. And at that point, being in England, I didn't really consider therapy. That wasn't ever something I would have considered. And so I just thought, well, I've got to get away. I've got to, quite frankly, I was running away.
Yeah. And did you find that, like, in our culture, I feel you said therapy is obviously something that you don't even think about when you're younger, but neither is, moving away from home.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you break free from kind of the cultural expectations of you and have the courage? Because we all have these dreams. Like, we can be younger and we can have all these dreams and desires to break free from a lot of things and to step out of our comfort zone. But to actually do it is a whole other thing. We can spend our whole life dreaming, which many people do.
Yeah.
So for people who are dreaming but haven't yet taken that step, for you, let's be honest, you were dealing with cultural expectations in so many different ways that you were defying.
Yeah.
What gave you that courage to be like, you know what, I'm going? And was it the fear? Was it simply the fear that was like, you know what, bye, I'm done?
There are many things that encouraged it. First and foremost, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, then you do know this. You remember the movie Dil Vale Dil Hanyale Jayenge?
Of course I do.
Of course you do. Okay, so there was so for anyone out there who does not know what this is arguably the most successful Bollywood movie
Epic Bollywood
of all time.
movie.
I think
Yes.
it's still. I don't know if you know, it still plays in cinemas in India
Yes.
to this day, 25 years later. And so I watched that movie, and there's this girl called Simran in the movie who asks her father for just 1 month. She says, will you just give me 1 month to live my life, and then I will do whatever you want. I'll marry the boy that you want. She's about to get an arranged marriage. She's betrothed to a boy. And she goes to Europe. And I remember so distinctly thinking, one day I'm going to ask my family to give me just a month. I just want a month where I get to be whoever I want to be. At that point, my dad was alive, and my dad died when I was just before I turned 14, and I thought, okay, I don't have to have that really difficult conversation. This is obviously it was a horrible experience, but I also thought I don't have to have that tough conversation with my father to say, can you just give me this time on my own? Because all my siblings were getting arranged marriages. All my family has arranged marriages. We don't really do love marriages, and so I knew that was my future. And then when my dad passed away, I then weirdly had the freedom to be able to say to my mom, because I was never scared of my mom, to say, Mom, I'm just going to go away for a little bit. And so that was the first thing. I felt so inspired by this movie. And then there was also, as you said, the fear, thinking, I've got to get away. But then honestly, the biggest catalyst for me was I knew I was gay from a very young age. I always knew. And I knew that no one would understand in my community. I lived in a really small town in South Yorkshire. There were only a few Asian families. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get rid of the gay. I prayed so hard. Like, I did all I could to try so hard to stop it. And I couldn't. And so finally, at a very young age, I just leaned in thinking, I'm religious. I've prayed as hard as I can. There's nothing can stop this. And so I thought, well, I have to run away. I have to move away. My family, will never come to America. I know that they don't like to travel. They don't like to fly far. America's too far for them to travel to. If I go there, no one will ever know. And I can lie. I can say I married a white girl, and they won't need to meet her because we typically don't marry outside of our race. So they'll be like, no, she's not allowed to our home. Okay, great. Then you don't need to meet her. I'm married to a white lady. I'm now living in America. So be it. And I honestly thought that that's how my life would play out. But then I really missed my family, and I still needed them.
Did you have the honest conversation with them when you wanted to leave? Like,
not when I had this stress when I wanted to leave.
Like, okay, bye.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go for work. I'll be back. Thinking I'm never gonna be able to come back here. And I honestly did think that after a few years, by the time I hit 25, because gosh, I'm making my people sound so archaic. They're not. It's just our culture. But by
Yeah.
25, you typically get married in my culture,
Yes.
especially within my small South Asian community in South Yorkshire. Everyone gets married by 25. If you don't, something was wrong with you.
Yeah.
And by wrong with you, I mean, I was obviously gay. And so I thought, okay, by the time I hit 25, I'm going to have to just never see my family again.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to fall off the face of the earth, and they're going to have to just assume I died or something, which is such a dark thing to think. But I really did think I'm not going to be able to have any contact, no communication. But because I'm obsessed with my family, which is really frustrating, I couldn't give them up. And so when I was about 24, I told them, I was like, look, I know that this is the expectation, but I'm gay. I found a man that I'm going to marry instead. Mind-blowing. Looking back, that was 15 years ago. That is mind-blowing for my people.
Yeah, I mean, even now, my grandma, when I talk to her about my friends, and one of my closest friends who is gay, and she's like, so how does that work? Like her question, and it's honestly from such an innocent place of like, how does that work? I've never seen it before. So it's a man, and like, and what do they do? I'm like, they do exactly the same thing that me and Jay do. Like, it's so interesting because there's so much education that needs to happen. But it makes me sad that in our culture, we're still in a place where people feel like they have to run away from what is their love and their support and their security and their safety, what is supposed to be that.
Yeah.
Our culture is supposed to be that. We're based on religious principles, which traditionally is accepting all people and loving all people.
Yeah. With a caveat, if you fit in.
But that's what I mean. And the fact that you felt, and I know many people, whether it's in my culture or in my spiritual community or in yours, it's the same story of I have to run away to be able to live my life versus I can have this support and love that I need in the community that I want to be part of. And I think that there's this really sad change and shift of what religion actually is and what spirituality actually is, and how man has, or people have how man has completely changed what is religion and what is culture.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately mix the two, where we actually don't know because we're not going back and studying and we're not going back and learning what it actually says.
Do you know how I feel about it is this? It doesn't matter for me what it says. I don't judge anyone based on who they are sleeping with. I don't know what my extended family members are doing behind closed doors with their partners, and I don't care. Why do you care so much what I'm doing behind closed doors? Why are you, as a straight man, so concerned with what gays are doing behind closed doors?
I don't know.
It's not affecting you at all. And when I first told family and friends, and when my husband and I first got married, there were so many people who were so angry and upset about it, and how it was going to affect our culture, the world. Yeah, and I just thought, nothing I do with my husband is going to affect any of you. It has no bearing on your lives. If anything, it's going to show you what true love is, because I love my husband so deeply. 15 years on, he's still my favorite person in the world, and a lot of you could learn from my relationship. So yes, you may be fearful of it. Maybe just listen and learn something.
It's crazy to me because when obviously living in LA, those judgments are far less. I think people, we may be judging people's Botox, but we're not judging people for what they actually are. Like, you're not judging people's
bubble. I love a bubble.
And every time I go back to London, I notice that over and over again. And again, I love London. My family's from there. It is it was something I would always call home. But I find that it makes me sad that we are not shifting with, not even with the time, with understanding the non-judgmental aspect of things. And I do find that when I've noticed people judging others based on things like that, it comes from such a deep-rooted place of not acceptance of themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And not acceptance of, obviously, if you're comfortable with yourself, you're comfortable with everyone being themselves.
Amen.
But they think they think the other way around. They're like, you are making me uncomfortable. You're making yourself uncomfortable.
I know. Every time I go to an Asian wedding and someone they start to widen their eyes because they're so freaked out that I'm there. I say, what do you think is going to happen today?
Yeah.
You think I'm just going to pounce on you and try and have sex with you? I'm not. First of all, you're not my type. You're not most people's type. I'm not into you.
Yeah.
And so the amount of times I just want to say, I've come into this with nothing but love. Maybe treat me the same way and see my humanity first and foremost.
Yes.
I don't need you to care about the fact that I'm gay. I don't need you to worry that I'm going to impact your children anyway. If I do, it's based on my humanity, not based on who I'm having sex with.
And you had, in your book, you wrote about nature nurture and about being gay. And I loved what you said, where you were born and you knew what you wanted from the moment you can remember.
Yeah.
Like there was no question of, is it this or is it this? And it wasn't a question of, I've been brought up in this way or raised in this way, and that's what's made me this way.
Yeah.
And I think people really miss the essence of that, because I know even my friends who've grown up in a similar situation where they're like, do you think I want to be in a position where people are bullying me, beating me up, where people are going to judge me for the rest of my life? Do you think this is something I would just sit here and choose? Because it is the difficult option for me.
Well, it's funny. I hear this from my people, our people, more than most, that we, me and the other queers, now I doing it because it's fashionable, because it's everyone's being queer now. I'm like, you think that any of us, especially South Asians, are choosing this? If you do, you're a moron.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You're an absolute idiot. If you think that somebody would choose the most difficult path in life just because it's the cool thing to do, no one's doing that. I also hear the argument so often, but this isn't just from our own people, this is from many, including a lot of Americans. Well, if we put the queers on TV and we've got it in the movies, that's going to encourage our kids. Let me tell you, all I saw for decades was straight shows, straight movies.
Yeah.
I watched so many shows where men and women were kissing, having sex. If that were true, that you can be so impacted by a show, I'd be straight. That's all we had. There would be not one gay person in the world, because we would have seen only straight people on TV. And so it's such a stupid argument. I just, if nothing else, I just want people to think, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's just a kind person. Can't we just see that first and foremost?
Exactly. And I find that, every time I think about being in that situation and how you have now become who you are, I wonder, like, do you still feel a lot of what happened to you when you were younger is still shaping who you are now? Or do you feel you've spent enough time processing it and kind of digesting it?
I don't feel the feelings I used to feel. And I've worked on that a heck of a lot since I came to America. And so much of it is through my husband. I say I never needed a knight in shining armor, or I didn't need a white knight. But unfortunately, I got one. It's just because he helped me understand what love looks like and what kindness looks like. My husband is one of the kindest people. If you ever meet somebody who's met my husband, they will say he's the nicest man you will ever meet. He's an angel from heaven. And so he has really made me understand that all those things that I thought of myself were untrue. Do I still feel those feelings sometimes? Absolutely. Do I sometimes look in the mirror and have to remind myself it's okay if I look darker that day? It's not a problem.
Yeah.
You do not need to bleach your skin. That's just that shitty little feeling that you were getting when you were a kid, or those that education you got as a kid. That's not true. I think that's the main residual issue I have.
I agree.
Is reminding myself my skin color's beautiful. Don't worry about it.
I've trained myself for a long time for that, because I actually grew up as being the lighter sibling and one of the lighter girls in my family. And it was so funny because I loved my sister so much. Everything she did, she's 4 years older than me. Everything she did was like, I want to wear that.
Yeah,
I want to be
hero.
that. Yeah, I want to do everything she does. Yeah. She was actually darker than me growing up. And all we would hear throughout our time as children was, I was the lighter skinned girl with green eyes from our whole community. Yeah. Family, friends, everything. It would be, people would see me, they'd be like, look at her green eyes. She's so fair. And my sister would always feel it. I didn't even know she felt that way. Yeah. Until we got older, and only recently, within the last couple of years, I can't remember when we had this conversation. And I realized that our relationship had actually was difficult. Not difficult. We weren't as close as we could have been because everyone was batting us against each other from the moment I was born.
Yeah.
And
And not based on your accomplishments, your
no.
achievements,
By the way,
your
she
brain.
was the more intelligent one. She was the one who did everything right. She was an incredible child and human growing up. But it was just those things that made our relationship so difficult.
Yeah.
And she's worked through so much of it, and I can feel it where we've come to a place where she realized it wasn't about anybody else. And she realized that everything everyone else was telling us was influencing our relationship, and so did I. And we're able to love each other so deeply now.
Yeah.
But it took years.
It takes years.
It
takes
took
absolute
years.
Yeah.
And even now I go on holiday and I'm like, you know what? I actually love getting a tan now since I've got
Me too.
Since I've got here, I'm like, it is so beautiful and it makes me feel so vibrant and alive. But that's that little thread that goes through your mind, because I know my mom's like, oh, you know, you've got a tan. And every time she says that, I'm like, is she saying that in a bad way or in a good?
I have immediate families who will always comment and say, oh, you look dark. And it's never in a, wow, love that you've got a tan. It's never that.
Oh, you've been on holiday. You look great. No, it's not that.
It's never that. It's never that.
Do you ever find it difficult because I find as soon as you are from a minority group who, you know, makes it big and you end up being, without asking for it, kind of the spokesperson 100%. For things. How has that been for you? Because I know for me, even though it's to a much smaller degree, I find it not suffocating, but a little bit scary because I actually love the culture that we come from. And I really have learned to embrace it, whether it's the food, the colors, the culture. And actually, I notice it being embraced so much more in different ways in the Western culture now, where it's, you know, we've got our turmeric lattes and we have our yoga mats. And, you know, there's so much that's come in. And I appreciate that and I love being that person because it is part of who I am. But at the same time, it's a scary place to be because as soon as you do one thing that upsets people, you are officially upsetting a whole community and you're taking down, in their eyes, a whole community.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, there are like 1.8 billion of us, which is insane.
It is.
In the West, there are so few of us on television or in the media. A handful, I think. I could probably count 10 max, who are like known people, like household names. And the difficulty is that look, so many people want to feel like they're the victim within a victimized group, but when you are queer and Muslim and an immigrant and you are also South Asian, you're like, oh no, I'm a minority within that minority, even though it's not a minority because there's almost 2 billion of us. But because there are none of us really that represent the way that the whites have or the black community has in America, we are such a small group of entertainers, and I consider you entertainer. I don't know if that's how you refer to yourself as, but you entertain. The pressure is so great, but I try really hard to not think about that. I really try and think what feels right for me. I'm going to do that. And if it doesn't work, I'm the first one to say, which is probably shitty for a lot of people, I can't represent you all. Yeah. It's physically impossible. I can't be your version of a perfect person. I can only be the best version I can come up with. But I will say, and this is controversial, but you and I were talking about it beforehand, I'm just going to go there. I do feel so much pain, not from the white community, not from the black community, not of any other community, like I do from our own community. Anyone else can knock me down. I'm like, okay, yeah, that stung a little bit. But when it's from our own, it feels like taking a bullet, because I was also this person. I would cry out for representation on TV. In England, when I was coming up, we didn't really have anyone. Maybe a family on EastEnders every now and then, but that was the best we got. They were caricatures of who we are. Yeah,
definitely.
And so there really there weren't real people. And so I always thought, gosh, what is it about us that no one wants to see? Why don't they care about us? And now I kind of get it. Because now that we have us, there are a few of us, our people are the first ones to knock us down. And I just think, if we go away, if me, you, and the other 7 or 8 of us go away, because we keep getting so much abuse from our own people. I know our people will say, where are we? We've got no representation. Like, because you kicked us whilst we were down, because you made us go away. You wouldn't give us a chance. We can't be your perfect version of Asian. Can't we just be grateful that we've got Asians on TV? We've got Asians at least somewhat representing us. When I go to an Asian event, I try and put on at least something that's Asian. I was one of the first people that wore a Shivani years ago to the Emmys, like one of the first who was actually nominated for an award who wore a Shivani. And so many of our people knocked me down saying, well, I don't like that color. Oh, that's more of a wedding Shivani. I was like, I don't care. Oh, he's got a Mangal Sutra on. Yeah, I loved it. I just thought it was a beautiful piece of jewelry. I'm not saying I'm a bride. Like, all those things that came from our community, I just thought, can't you just be grateful that one of us is wearing something Asian here tonight? I didn't just turn up in a tuxedo. And so that's the only part that I find stifling. I just think our people, give us a break. We can't be perfect always for you. Be grateful that you've got a South Asian who's a positive influence.
It's so true. And you've kept going regardless of all of it. And that's what people don't see.
Yeah.
And I actually really appreciate how, you're someone who could, when people see a celebrity and they see what kind of life they live or the glamour of it all, you imagine that they want to be seen all the time, it almost, people don't realize that it's a human role, that you just appreciate the work that you're doing. Yeah. It's not that you necessarily want to be spoken about all the time and seen all the time and heard all the time. Yeah. And you've really removed I feel from, a lens of seeing you a little bit closer than the outside world, that you've removed yourself from what could have been you being paparazzi'd all the time. Scandal. Or being in the eye all the time. What made you remove yourself from kind of, I think, the celebrity culture that could have been living in LA and living in the thick of it?
Actually, our people.
Yeah.
I really, when I got the job, I was, at that time, look, maybe I'm wrong and maybe there was somebody else, but at that time I was the first queer South Asian.
It was you.
Who was openly queer. And then I was also the first openly queer Muslim. Yeah. And so I just thought, I want to do the best I can for our people. I want to try really hard to be the perfect person, which no one can be. No. But I really wanted to try. And so I thought, I saw my castmates on. So Queer Eye was the first show. Anyone who doesn't know where I'm from initially from a show called Queer Eye, which was the first entertainment job I ever got. And on this show, there are 5 of us. I'm the only South Asian.
Yeah.
I'm the only foreigner. Everybody else is from the US. Actually, Auntie's from Canada, but he was raised in the US. Anyway, so they all wanted to move to New York or LA. One of them was already in LA, but the rest of them were moving to New York, LA. And I made a conscious decision to stay where I was in Salt Lake City, Utah. I didn't want to be stumbling out of a nightclub. I didn't want to be seen at every party. I wanted our people to see, you know what, he's taking this really seriously. He's taking this, quite honestly, this burden really seriously. Yes, I know that our job pays better than most jobs. I know that we get invited to parties, but it is quite a responsibility and sometimes a burden of responsibility to represent so many people. And so I just thought, if I stay home, people will see that I'm just about the job.
Yeah.
And it's just my job.
Yeah.
I still am the same person I always was. And 6 years on, it's now been, gosh, it's close to 7 years in February that we started shooting the show. I still live in Salt Lake. I just finished my dream home. I plan to live there forever. I don't live in LA. I don't live in New York. You will never see me stumbling out of a nightclub, which, no shade. No. But a lot of people who are in that position, they don't have to speak for their community. Mm-hmm. There are thousands, if not millions of white people on TV. You get to make all your mistakes and no one's going to care about that. Yeah. But if I make mistakes, if you make mistakes, we know what that means for our people. And so that's why I choose to not live that life. You don't typically see me out and about. Yeah, you'll see me do interviews. Yeah, you'll see me do press. That's part of my job. I'm required to do press. I'm contractually obligated to do press for my work. But other than that, you don't see me out and about.
No, I feel like the energy that you've kept and maintained for yourself is so beautiful. And from the moment that I met you in person, like I've seen you on TV and I was always a fan, but meeting you in person was even better than all of that.
Oh, thanks.
Because I felt like, as soon as I met you, I felt completely grounded in your energy. And I could tell that you've worked so hard to even build that within yourself. Yeah. And to maintain being a positive person as you are, like you are your energy gives to so many people. From the moment they see you, it just you fill people up. How do you, as a person who is regularly probably torn down and you choose not to see it, but you still get that. How do you, one, what are you drinking? But also, what do you do on a daily basis or on a, what fuels you? What nourishes you?
Okay, I've got so much I want to say about this because a lot of the Brits will say that it's an act. I came to America and I just did a peppy thing because Americans are peppy and phony. That's what they think. I'm like, no, actually, most of the people in my life are peppy because they really do want to see the positive in life. And I love that about them. And I feel that way also. I often think, well, what am I going to moan about? What have I got to be angry about? I'm the luckiest person in the world. I've got my husband who I love. I've got friends who I love and respect. I've got my children who I'm obsessed with. What have I really got that I need to moan about? Yeah, I have my gripes every now and then. Yeah, okay, this didn't work out, that didn't work out. But on the whole, I'm an incredibly happy person, but that's because I'm actively working on that regularly. I don't think happiness just comes. I think it's a process. And so the things that keep me that way, I work on my relationship a lot. I was recently with a couple of friends and they were talking about relationships and they are very public and they are in relationships now, but they have had failed relationships in the past. And we were talking about my relationship and they were saying, we just want a relationship like yours and Rob's. You love each other, like you're obsessed with each other, and you will never, ever, when you're not around that person, rip them down.
Yes.
I will never belittle my partner. I will never speak negatively. And I've said many times, I'm going to say it here again. Your relationship, as far as I'm concerned, should be the easiest thing in your life. It should be the thing that grounds you and gives you comfort. If anytime I hear somebody talk about how hard the relationship is or marriage is really hard work, I just think you're in the wrong one. Right. I don't think it has to be that way. And so, work on things. Things will come up, work on them. But your resting state in your relationship shouldn't be, it's hard work. It's not. And so that is a real grounding force for me, my partner. But then also my family. If I do something that's kind of bonkers, like my sister, I love my sister so much. I speak to her so regularly, but she's the first one to take the piss when I've worn something on a red carpet that is wild. And I keep having to remind her, I can't wear a tuxedo because I'm the style guy. I've got to switch it up. I've got to keep people on their toes. And sometimes it's bonkers. And I know it's bonkers, but I'm like, I want to keep them guessing. And she's the first one with my cousins who'll be like, what were you thinking? Like, you look like a clown. Yeah, I know, but I'm enjoying myself. And so having people like that in my life also really helps. And if I start to get a little bit extra, they're the first ones to say, let's not get it twisted. We're from a very poor community in England. Like, chill out.
Tone it down.
Yeah, tone it down, man. And that all really helps. And it reminds me of just how grateful I am for this life. I was never meant to be here, Radhi. I was never meant to be here. And so the fact that I get to wake up in my home every day with my partner and I get to enjoy all of this, I just think, oh, I'm overjoyed. I'm overjoyed. It's not an act. And I think that when people see my joy and I talk about how I like to be positive on TV, I am also a bitch.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to get onto that in your book because I love that part of you in the book.
Yeah, I'm definitely a bitch
so
also.
Good.
I think the duality is really important.
It is.
I will say...
You can be sassy and still be a kind person.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And here's the thing. I think that people are very, very shocked when they hear me interview as opposed to when they see me on Queer Eye. On Queer Eye, I'm edited a lot. I don't swear really on Queer Eye. I'm edited so heavily. They always said, you're the Brit, we want you to be the classy one.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because so many Brits on and I was never the classy one. I was trashed through and through. And so now when I'm doing interviews, I need people to see, no, I'm a fully dimensional person. I can have a bitchy comment. I'm always sassy. I've always got a sarky quip, but it doesn't mean I'm not kind. I will always try and be kind, but sometimes I think, no, that person's being a total douchebag.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell them.
Honest and real.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps when you said that about your family. There's a sense of if you're close people that you really love and adore, they accept and love you. There's a sense of security and solid foundation where even if everything else gets rattled around you, you have this to come back to. Wait, what were you saying that I wanted to touch on? I've lost my
Being a
train
bitch.
of thought. Oh, yes. So you, in your book, talk about Emma. It made me laugh so much. The girl whoever, the Emma that reached out to you on Facebook. Really?
Oh my God. Yes, that was her fake name.
Yeah, of course. The
Yeah.
Emma that reached out to you on
Emma.
Facebook.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about whether you actually still have any friends left from your childhood. Like, do you have friends,
Yeah.
OG friends from that time?
Yeah, I have
Do
one
you?
friend from
That's
that
cool.
time. One from when I was 16. I don't have friends from like school,
Yeah.
but as soon as I entered college, I met this one girl in my hometown who is still one of my very, very closest friends. The others, quite honestly, so I had mostly white friends at school because the majority of my school was white, but there were a couple of Asian kids in my year, and I was friends with them. We got along great. We'd watch school together. However, when I came out, none of them wanted to be a part of my life. They were just very traditional. One Indian person and then two Pakistanis. And yeah, all of them wanted to not be involved with me once I came out.
How do you manage, obviously, after everything changes and, people feel even celebrity relationships and friendships are criticized of not being real because once you're in the public eye, it's like, well, everything is just fake. Like that's what I find. Everything is
I know,
fake.
it's so funny.
How has it been for you building friendships, and do you feel like you've been able to build deep connections with people? And what do you determine a real friendship to be? Because I think people struggle with that.
Okay, wait. Can you write a note down, please? Can you
Yes.
just write the word Illuminati? We need to come back to that. So you just remind me of something that is so funny that I've never said and I really want to tell you.
Please do.
So when it comes to friendships, how I view friendships is like the real friendships.
Yes.
So I've had friends for years who were my friends before Queer Eye, and they're still my friends, and I'm so grateful for that. Like there's 8 girls, they're partners. They all come over to our house for dinner. I cook for them regularly. They're still my ride or dies. And then my British friends who I love. My newer friends, I will say this, and people, this is something I wrote in the book that never made it into the final version that you guys see because my editor was like, people might take this really badly. And I was like, okay, but I'm going to tell you now.
Please.
And I've never said this before. I don't make new friends who aren't entertainers. And I know that sounds... Who aren't entertainers. And I know that sounds shitty, but let me explain why. I find it easier making friends who are entertainers because I'm not worried that they're going to tell somebody something that entertainers know you're not meant to say to the wrong person. And they don't have anything to benefit from me. Most of the people who are my close friends who are famous are much more famous than I could ever be. And I know that they know I need nothing from them. They need nothing from me. And that balance makes me really comfortable. Whereas if it's somebody new, and I tried within the first couple of years, not that I tried actually, it just came to me. People I would meet at my gym, I would go out for coffee with, and then eventually there was an ask for something. I'm like, oh God, I really thought that this was just real. And then you wanted this or this or this that you wouldn't have expected from anyone who wasn't an entertainer. And so as shitty as it might sound to most people out there thinking, oh, he's gotten so high and mighty, he won't make friends with real people anymore. That's not the case. It's easier. And I feel safer when it's somebody I know that doesn't need anything from me. Do you experience that also?
Yeah, I've, my OG friends from school or from when I was really young, every time we have a new person that I'm someone who I love making friends with. I love building community.
Me too.
And so, but for them, every time they see someone trying to be friends with me or coming back into my DMs, like someone that I had a fight with and they're messaging me again, I always am like, you know what, that's so nice. And I think I also have this feeling of wanting to be accepted by people from my past. This girl that really didn't like me, now she's messaging me, let me go out for coffee with her. I'm like, for what reason? There's no need for that. But like, it does go through my head to do that. I think I have people-pleasing mentality anyway. But I do find that the first point of thought for my family and friends as protection is, are you sure they want to be your friend?
Yeah.
But I used to then stop myself from engaging with people because that thought was coming into my mind too often. And so I made a decision that like I would give everyone the benefit of doubt, and this has scarred me a little bit, but give everyone the benefit of doubt until the point where they realize they can't get anything from me, and then they will fall off.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of investment for sure.
A lot.
It's a lot of investment, and it's definitely burnt me a fair few times, but it shows up. So, like, you, even if you don't see it in the first meeting or the second meeting, in some way it will show up. And so yes, eventually it will boil down to a few, and it is the people that you can relate to.
Yeah.
It's the people who get that, you know, when you're talking about having a hard day and you're an entertainer, people be like, you do not have a hard day.
I know.
Whereas when you have people in your own circle or with people who have the same, it's the same as a doctor.
Yeah.
Like if a doctor is friends with a doctor, they know what the night shifts are like. They know how hard it is to, you know, lose a patient. They understand it because you've been through it.
Yeah.
And so you always want to be around people that have also been through what you've been through and can understand the circumstance that you're in.
So it's
And
not
it
like
has
we're
ended up
cherry picking.
No,
it
not
really
at all.
isn't.
It's just who can you relate to? Who can understand that I've had a 12-hour shoot and I am exhausted, and I can message and they won't judge me for saying I'm exhausted for it.
Yeah. And who can I trust? And I'm not talking about who can I trust to not sell a story. It's who can I trust in those deepest, darkest moments at night when they're at my home. And I like to have people come visit and stay at my home. And when they come, I know that they're not going to judge the fact that I haven't done my hair. I haven't put nice clothes on. I just want to be as if I'm with my closest, oldest friends.
Yes.
And that gives me a sense of comfort, and I trust that no one's ever going to find out those deepest, darkest secrets.
No,
I really appreciate that.
I agree. And I think, you know, that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. It's trust. Like if you can build trust within a relationship. And I think the reciprocation is interesting. I always thought about that because I have been a friend who's always wanted to just pour in. And I think it's because I used to get a lot of value from other people's need of me in their life.
Same.
And so I feel through that I would just give and give and give because I felt that is my value in their life, whether it was friends or family. But then I realized, and I used to think, you know what, no, but that's just part of it. If you love someone, you just keep giving. But reciprocation is such an integral part of love. It's part of, like, you have to have a loving exchange. You fuel each other. It's part of the love cycle. It doesn't have to be in the same way or even to the same capacity because we're all different and need different things. But the reciprocation has to be there.
Absolutely.
And so I think I've started redefining what I see friendship to be versus it's just if I like them, then that's it. And we can hang out and we can spend time together.
And friendships can be really different. I mean, I've got friends who I will text every couple of days.
Yeah.
But then I've got friends who I'll see at parties, and some might call them acquaintances, but I love them deeply.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you an example. Purna.
Yeah.
Do you know Purna?
Yeah, of course I do.
I love Purna. I consider her a good friend. Do I text her more than once every 3 months? No.
Yeah.
But every time I see her, she's the
So
person
much
I
love
go.
for her.
She's the person I go right to at a party, regardless of who else is there. She's my girl.
Yeah.
And so there's different levels of friendship, but it's not that one is better than the other. I just experience them differently, and I like that I have different versions of friends.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I have to tell you this Illuminati.
Illuminati.
So whenever I say to somebody, remind me of something, it's just my way of trying to remember that thing.
Yeah.
So when I got the show, I didn't tell my family at all until the show came out.
Yeah.
Which was not a good idea. But I was really worried about how they would feel about it. I thought they're going to be pissed, and they were. And so I didn't tell anyone. And so I went to England for what I thought was going to be my last visit where I would ever see my family again. And
Dramatic.
It was so dramatic. And I kept crying and no one understood why. But anyway, and one of those evenings I was with my extended family. My family's the kind of family where it's not just my immediate family. It's also cousins, aunts, uncles. We're close and I love them. And so there were probably 40 of us in a room and we sat on the floor, we chit chat and we were talking. Weirdly, celebrity came up and they were saying, well, the only way people get famous is by joining the Illuminati. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. Well, no, that's the only way you can get in on TV or in a movie. I was like, I don't know if that's true. And only one person, my sweet cousin, who I'm still really close to, she looked over and she was like, oh my gosh, one day they're going to think that you joined the Illuminati. Then the show came out and the first question I got was, did you join the Illuminati? I was like, no, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what is the Illuminati?
I remember that rumor.
Isn't
I
that
really
so
remember
funny?
it. Yeah.
And they truly, like, still to this day, I had some cousins come out literally 2 weeks ago. And one of them very calmly, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I sleep by 10. This was very late for me to stay up, but we were just having a giggle and a gossip and talking about family. And then finally she turned and she said, can I ask you something really personal? I was like, yeah, of course you can. We've known each other forever. Did you do anything with the Illuminati? I was like, I don't know what that is. No, you idiot. I would tell you. I don't know what that
I've
even
heard
means.
that so many times.
It's so funny.
I don't know whether it's just a UK thing and
I
there's
think it's a
somehow
UK
a rumor
thing.
made it there
Yeah, I
and
think
it
it's
has
UK
stuck
thing.
with us.
I know.
But it was definitely a thing.
It's they do something with the diamond.
There's YouTube videos about all the like celebrities
Or
doing
an
specific
eye.
symbols. Yeah.
And I was like, so they were like, oh, no, Beyonce does this. I'm like, I think it's because she's part of Rock Nation.
Yes.
I think that's their logo. I don't think she's doing a devil sign to anyone. It's insane.
I've had so many. There's a
It's so
rabbit
funny.
hole that you can go into. And
I know.
Yeah. Don't go down it. You might believe you are actually part of it.
Sometimes I have to question myself, thinking, did I agree to something?
Who did I sign a contract with?
Apparently they say you just have to think it. I'm like, did I once think that as a teenager? Because I used to want to be a pop star. I used to want to be Britney.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, one day God just make me Britney Spears. And so I just think, did I subconsciously agree with the devil that this was how my life was going to go? Insane.
That's a really great story though. I feel like I can really relate to that because I've heard that a few times.
It's so dumb. And I'm assuming your family at some point has thought it. Believe me, every Brit
I bet
thinks
they
so.
have.
Yeah.
We signed some sort of contract. We all did. I wanted to ask you about your confidence because going from someone who obviously was quite shy and were you shy growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shy growing up and then to be the person you are now, it's not just a jump that happens. Are there things for people who you can recommend that you've done to really help work through the difficult parts of yourself that you had to accept, plus just showing up as yourself? It sounds like such an easy thing to do, right? Like just be yourself.
No.
But it is so difficult. And for you, it's, for what you've been through, it's even more difficult. How can someone do that?
So there was the first time I ever cried on Queer Eye was, I think season 3 or 4. We have lost track, but 3 or 4. This man in a wheelchair, his name is Wesley, who we loved. He asked me during our scene, where do you get your confidence from? You're the most confident person I've met. And I just started to cry because I was like, I'm not. I would never, ever have considered myself a confident person. And to highlight this, I went to an awards ceremony a couple of days ago to present my friend with an Icon Award. And I went to the party alone. I typically go places alone. My husband doesn't like to be part of this celebrity life, which I love and respect so much. And so I typically go alone. And I do this almost every time I go to an event. I call him from the car saying, I'm just going to go home. Even though I'm in my outfit, I've gotten ready. I'm just going to go home. I'm really nervous. Like no one's going to talk to me. And if I walk in on my own, they're going to judge me. I'm just going to go home. And he's always the one who has to say, you've got nothing to be shy about, embarrassed about. People care for you. Whenever you go to a party, you find somebody that you can relate to. Don't worry about it. But he has to talk me off the ledge every time. And I walked in this party and I was so nervous and there was no PR person. And I started to feel the panic thinking, oh my gosh, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Everyone else is cool and famous. And I'm just tan. Like I revert back to Yorkshire tan, who no one wants to hang out with. And I feel that every time. And I've been in this for quite a few years now. Queer Eye's won every Emmy that you could. Queer Eye made history, won more Emmys than any other show in Unscripted in history. Yet I still can't go into a room and not panic that people don't think I'm worthy of being there. And so the illusion of confidence, I wish I could give advice. I'm not that confident person that people believe. I'm just not. But I will say that in myself and in my own circle, the people that I'm close with, I'm confident in those spaces because I've worked on myself for so many years. And when I say that, I mean, every time I hear criticism, I just think, what could I do differently to make sure that no one sees that, but I also don't display that because I'm not that person. And so I've worked on that for a heck of a long time. Or even if I am that person, even if they do hate the fact that I'm brown, I'm queer, I'm all those things, how do I reconcile that in myself and accept that that's their problem, not mine? So in those spaces where I really know people, I feel really good and confident. And I feel like when my friends are all in a room, I am the loudest one. I am the one who's the host of that room. But that's only with people I feel safe with.
I was asking for myself too, because I can completely relate to that because I think for me, I've always found it difficult walking into rooms. I always need someone walking in front of me or beside me. I found that so hard.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I need to give you an example of
tell
you.
me.
the first time I saw you, I think it was the first time I saw you. It was the first time we spoke, but I don't think I had seen you at another event
Yeah.
before then. It was Bella Bajaria
Yes, it
and Mindy
was,
had put on.
yes.
It was just like a gathering of South Asians in
Yeah.
Hollywood. And you walked into the room and I saw you. And I knew immediately that you felt the same way I did when I could see the nerves on your face, and you were just looking for someone who you might know to talk to.
Yeah.
I knew it. The
my
moment I
gosh,
saw you
that's
walk, and I was like,
exactly
"Oh,
how
she's bricking it too."
I was, and I always do. And usually I find my way to the bathroom first, and I spend about 20 minutes in there, especially if I'm going somewhere alone, because that day no one was coming with me, and no one I knew very well was going.
Yeah.
And I think mine comes from, and I've been reflecting on this a lot, I think I came into all of this through Jay.
Yeah.
And for me, the not feeling accepted in a room is like, oh, I'm just here because they want him here, or I'm just here because they've invited me on top of this person.
Yeah.
And I think I struggle with that, and that's why I feel very similar to your husband, where I'm like, I don't want to be invited. I don't feel the necessity to go anywhere unless there's for a reason. So if I'm just coming as because you're invited and I'm invited on top.
That's why my husband goes to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not because I have an ego, but I've been trying to really break it down, because I think for many people, we have this imposter syndrome that comes upon us. And I definitely have felt that, because fame was never something I desired ever growing up. It was never something I envisioned for myself. It was never, ever something. I was a dietitian in a hospital, and that's how I really want. And that's how I never saw myself in that. I never saw a star on TV and thought I want to be that.
What? You're the only person I've ever met who said that.
Yeah, never.
Gosh, I thought
never.
everyone
I
as a
knew
kid
I
wanted
wanted
to be famous.
to treat children. Like, that's literally what I wanted to. I knew I wanted to work with kids. And I think it's beautiful, and the effect that you can have as being someone who can have an incredible community. Like, that's incredible. But it was never something I desired. And so when it came to me, I felt ungrateful for feeling like that. So I was like, I have to accept it, and I want to embrace it and see what I can do with it. But I still feel the feeling of I've come into this because of someone else. And so walking into a room has always been difficult for me for that reason. And I think that's something I'm still working on. So the lack of confidence is, oh, she's here because of this, or she's online doing this because of her husband. And so...
And how do you reconcile that?
I think I'm still working on it, honestly. I keep reminding myself that I'll tell you how I did start to reconcile it. I was like, I know they're coming to my page, and I know they're coming here because of Jay, which is amazing because he's incredible. Yeah. But at the same time, let me be of value, that I am providing something to their life that is benefiting them. And if I know what I'm giving is giving either joy or wellness or sharing something that's going to change their life as it has mine, whether it's my spiritual practices or whatever it is, then at least I know I've added value to their life. So I think I've reconciled it in my mind, and I shift between this, on a weekly basis, where I'm like, I think I should just shut down my Instagram and just not do this anymore. Oh my gosh,
I think that every damn week.
I do that all the time. And I think I keep reminding myself that whether it is 5 people, or whether it is 2 million or 5 million, whatever it is, you have this amazing ability to shift someone's perspective or to touch their heart in some way, or the messages where you get, you've saved my life, like whatever those little things are. I remind myself of how grateful I am to be in that position, but then remind myself that means there's a duty to keep learning, keep sharing, and sharing things of value. Yeah. And so, I think that's how I do it. But I still find it really difficult.
The social media component that you just mentioned is really important for me. I experience the same thing so often. I just think, okay, I'm on TV, and that should be the thing that I do. I don't need to, technically I do need to be on social. It's part of the contract that I have to post about the shows. Yes. However, I have thought many times, I just want to shut it down. I want to go against my contract, and I want to shut it down and say, okay, if you don't want me just because I'm not on social media, then so be it. There was some drama a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm done with social. I'm done with being an entertainer. I'm going to quit it all. And I was talking about it. I cried. I've cried a lot lately, and I talked to. Oh my god, a lot. And we'll talk about that after this. This is not. I won't talk on this publicly, but I spoke to my husband about it, and I was like, I think we're done. We've got everything we could ever need. We're not. I would like to believe we're not greedy people. We have our home, we have our kids, we've got enough money to provide for our kids a comfortable life, not a fancy life in the future if we stopped working now, but a comfortable life. Yeah. And I was like, wait, my husband and I both come from very poor families. This is amazing. What we've
Yeah.
achieved is next level. Like, we don't need to do anymore. And I was saying, I'm ready to walk away from entertainment. And he reminded me of why I did this in the first place. And he was like, Tan, I know that so many people are acting like they hate you right now and that you're the devil. Look at all those positive people, positive comments, and the people who truly do look to you as a shining light, a north star for them. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. I came from nothing. He came from nothing. Like, if he can do it, we can do it. And I hate to sometimes let the haters win, but sometimes they do with
Hate
me.
is so much louder sometimes.
Oh my gosh. And so I'm glad that that moment is over and I feel stronger again. And when we talk about confidence, I've now gotten the confidence in this space, not a social space, to be able to say, I'm offering added value to the people who are looking at my Insta or the people who are watching the show. Yeah, some people may hate me, but even if it's just a few people out there who are like, God, I love that I'm finally being seen because that person is offering me that, that's okay.
It is. It is. It's a difficult space to be in because, and I think for anybody that ends up listening to this, it could end up sounding like we're like, oh, you know what? Social media is so hard and our life is so hard and this is difficult for people to be watching us. And what people don't realize is as much as everybody's duty is in their job to do different things, social media is also part of a duty and a job too, where you take that on.
Absolutely.
So yes, you can accept the hate and you can I accept that people will not like me. That is something I will accept. I will accept that people will have an opinion. But what I find difficult to accept is the level to which people take their criticism and their abuse that goes with people. And by the way, that's not just with people who are public figures. That's with bullying. That's with people, anybody behind a screen who is sharing something with people who don't even have followers that really impacts people's lives. And I think we forget the energetic value and how much words and actions that we take affect people because we're doing it behind a screen. But we forget that every single word, every single action carries a ripple energy that is going throughout this world. And so when I think about why there ends up being so much hate, and when something happens, you know, whether it's around the world or whether it's with myself, you have a choice of either you can take that pain and you share pain, or you can take that pain and you can support each other and be in pain together, but love one another because we have the opportunity to do that.
One point that you touched on that I'm going to hit on, a lot of people are like, oh, they're on social media, they're posting, they're entertainers, they've got a lot of followers. Boo-hoo. Like, you're a tiny little violin. Who cares? You're the most privileged people in the world. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean that I still don't have a heart. I still don't have feelings. I wasn't born into wealth.
No.
I haven't had a privileged life. My life is very privileged now. I get it. But I understand you. I was that person. I was that very working class person. I was the person on the bus. I was the person in the call center. You think I don't know your life? I know your life. Yes, I'm in a different space now. It doesn't mean I lost my mind and I'm no longer a human. And I have to remind my family of that a lot, to say, I had a friend who came to an event a couple of years ago. When I went on my book tour, she turned up to an event and it was somebody I knew from college, and she came with one of my very best friends. And as she walked through the door, she said, "Hi, Tan, it's Kelly. I don't know if you remember me." And I was like, "Do you think I had lobotomy? I became an entertainer. I didn't lose my mind. Of course, we were together for 3 years. I practically lived in your house, you nut job. Like, of course I remember who you are." And she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That was so silly." I was like, "Yeah, I'm still the person you knew." And so when people make those comments like, oh, they're upset that they're having a hard time from the public on social media, yeah, I am upset that I'm getting a hard time because I am still that person. And I don't, as much as I know, I'm not deluded. I know I'm an entertainer. I know I'm famous. I get it. However, most of the time, I do still feel just like Tan from South Yorkshire. No, I don't. I would like to believe, unless they're nuts, I would like to believe most of us aren't walking around our homes thinking, I am famous.
Look at
I'm famous.
me.
Tan. People, no, not at all. That's insane. Most of the time, I forget, and then I step out of my house and somebody will say hello, and then I'm like, oh yeah, duh. And so when you're pissy at us because we're moaning that we've had a hard time, you're allowed to moan about your job. Why can't I moan about my job?
Yeah, I really appreciate being able to share joy online, but I also find that when you do that, and when you were saying that people thought that you were fake with the way that you were acting and in your smiliness and everything, it's hard because you want to show up as someone who is positive online because you want to be able to share that with the world. But then of course you have your times where you're upset, and I get messages that are like, how are you just happy all the time? It can't be. And I'm like, I'm not. I cry all the time. I'm sad a lot of the time. I want to choose to, I'm being mindful and practicing, not just because of who I am, but practicing mindfulness in how I share myself with other people because of how it impacts them. And I think it's such the way that we have the ability to affect the world, and not just if you're famous, if you have anybody in your life, you have this ability to either smile at someone or frown at them on the street. You have this ability to either share words with the person that's selling you something in a kind way, or you don't. Every single thing you're doing is impacting the kindness of the entire world. And I think that we forget how much of a difference it makes by our small little actions and how big they can actually end up being collectively.
The flip side though is when I am on social, not regularly, but often enough, I will post when I'm going through something. Yeah. I'm not one for crying on camera. I don't even do that on the show. But when I'm going through something, especially when I had my kids, they were the hardest months of my lives, those first few months of each respective child. And I shared that. I wanted people to know I'm not a mommy blogger. I'm not saying I'm going to be in Chanel. My daughter's in Chanel and we look perfect. Or I'm not making a massive breakfast for my kid. I'm knackered. Like, I'm tired. I barely slept. I've got a 12-hour shoot day. I want people to know that although, yes, I'm a joyful person, I still have really hard times. Yeah. And I think that's really important for me to share with them.
Yeah, definitely. Same. I think it is too. And I think I think there's this concept of wanting to worship something, but sometimes we end up worshiping. It's like everyone wants to worship something, but be careful what you worship. Yeah. And so we end up worshiping humans, and we end up worshiping idols that we see. And instead of worship, we can appreciate. Yeah. But let's not worship and put people on pedestals that they're not asking to be on, or that they shouldn't be on in even your own heart and mind, because it only leads to disappointment.
Yeah. And you're suggesting they're infallible. And then when they do fail, inevitably, because all of us do, they feel the pressure so greatly because you've suggested that they're infallible.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, fun times, but also appreciate community online.
Love.
Because I feel like with even though, and you know what, Jay's taught me this a lot. He gets a lot of hate. He has since the moment he started, as most people do. But he always chooses to, every time I come to him and I'm like, this has upset me that people are saying this about you, or this has upset me that people are saying this about me, or about this person, or about that. He just says, if you allow the hate to be louder, it will be louder. Like, if you allow to only yourself to listen to that, you're always going to feel that way. So you have a choice every single time you're doing it.
Shut up, Jay. It's easier said than done.
But he lives it. And he really does. And that's the hardest part. He actually lives it. I'm like, aren't you upset that these people are saying this? And he's like, no, because I've got all these other people who are so appreciative and who love me and who actually care. And I'm like, wow, it's such a beautiful mindset to have. Very difficult to have.
Very difficult.
But to practice. It's a practice every single day to do that. And what you were saying about being grateful, like, I feel like you can feel the oozing of gratitude through you every single day. But again, that's a practice. Yeah. And I've had to do that too, where I have negative thoughts that come into my mind constantly. But at least I'm like, you know what, I look in the mirror and I'll be like, this doesn't look that great. But at least I'm walking today. You know, you have to try and balance it out at some point. Yeah,
absolutely.
Even if you're not able to stay positive 100% of the time, which no one can, at least try and have a balancing effect on your mind.
I really do. This is so American, but I try to offer myself positive affirmations every day.
Can you give me one that you like?
Yeah, well, it's a practice that I've been doing. It's actually, so the show came out, and a lot of not so nice comments about me. When you are in a boy band or a girl group, people are gonna pit you against each other.
Oh, for sure.
They're gonna rank you. Who's the hot one? Who's the most vocal one? Who's the dog of the group? And I was like, oh, yay. I love that you all put me at the bottom of the list for every damn list. And so it really, really affected me the first few months, really affected me. And so I tried to just one morning, I was like, what do I like about myself? Forget what everybody else is commenting on about me. What do I like about myself? And then and I felt better that day. And I was like, I'm going to do this every day. So every day when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I tell myself the things I like about me. And I'm not talking about my physical appearance. Yes, sometimes there is. I always say, I'm grateful for my hair. I'm so grateful for my
Love
hair.
your hair.
I love my hair. I'm grateful for my hair. But everything else is personality traits that I'm grateful for. Yes, sometimes I'm sassy, but I like that about me.
Yeah.
If someone throws shade my way, I'm the first one to throw it back. And I like that about me. If I see injustice, I'm the first one to say, no, bitch, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I like that about me. And so I just think, why shouldn't I appreciate the things that I think are valuable? We're going to get knocked down all day, every day. I do all day, every day on social media. I just think, okay, you think that, but I know I started my day knowing for a fact that these things about me are good.
Yeah. And I think when you can stay solid in your own value for yourself, it can stop anybody else penetrating your mind about you.
Yeah.
But I do think that gratitude practice has to be in place, and it has to be a daily thing, because if you don't feel gratitude for yourself, you can't expect other people to even feel gratitude for you, because you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And what you give out is what everybody else is you're gonna receive back to you. It's just the energetic way that the world works.
Yeah.
And so making sure that you're taking that time to do that for yourself is so important.
Yeah. You know, when you get a server or a customer service person who's just miserable.
Yes.
I used to work in customer service. I did it for years. I worked at a call center for years. I worked in retail for years. No matter how bad my day was, no matter what was going on in my life, I just thought, that's not their fault.
Yeah.
I'm just going to suck it up and say, please and thank you. If nothing else, my please and thank yous. So when someone, even now, and I try really hard to be Tan France all the time, but sometimes I'm Tan Safta, and Tan Safta's rough. And I can't let him go sometimes. But yeah, when someone's rude, my husband finds it very funny that even still I can't not handle that situation, but I do it in a very pleasant way. I will say, if someone's just giving the worst service, I just,
You're right, mate.
no, I will always say, oh, I'm sorry, have I done something to offend you? And it's the way now that I deal with it, because then it makes it very clear to the person, you are behaving wildly inappropriately. And thankfully, it seems to stop them in the tracks. And like, oh no, sorry, I'm doing this, or I'm going through a bad day. Okay, I'm really sorry you're going through a bad day. Let's work through this. Let's get this done.
Let's do this together.
And then we can be done. It's such a nice way to counterbalance someone's shitty behavior. Have I done something to offend you?
I'm going to use that from now on. Have I done something to offend you?
Because I make it really clear. I know I'm not doing anything to you. I've said hi. I've asked you how your day was. And you're like, what can I get you? Is something wrong?
Yes, is something wrong? Are you okay? And I think asking it from a genuine perspective as well, because it helps them to reflect on how they're feeling too.
And also being self-aware, thinking, shit, maybe I did do something to offend you.
Yeah.
But if that thing that is offensive is that I'm brown and gay, I can't help you.
Then I can't help you
I
there.
can't help you. That's your problem. We're fab.
I have some rapid fire questions for you. Okay. What are you reading right now, if anything?
Oh my God, this is going to sound so lame.
No, please tell me. I need to know.
It's the Hunger Games, the one that's about to come out. I forgot what it's called.
gosh,
Ballad
cool.
of Snakes and something.
I love Hunger Games.
I love that. I know it's a teenager's book, but me and my sister loved it.
Aww.
We've reread it so many times, and now I'm reading the prequel so I can watch the movie in a few days.
Okay, I need to do that because I absolutely
good.
love Hunger Games. I'm so excited for it to
Love
be coming
I
out.
can't believe that they've got a new one. I'm so
I
excited.
know, me too. Okay, great. Something you value now that you didn't before.
My brown skin. I'm not even kidding. I think it's beautiful, and I'm so grateful
too.
for it. And partly the reason why I know this is rapid fire, but partly it's because I see my brown kids and I just think you are gorgeous, and I feel no shame in that my kids are brown, and I love that.
Can I just ask, you're Tan France now. What was your name before?
Tan Safta.
Okay, and how
Tan
did you?
Safta.
This isn't part of my rapid fire, but how did you decide whether you take your husband's name or the other way around? I need to know because it's
So
a good
legally-
cultural thing to
no,
talk about.
Actually, legally, we both are. I'm Tan Safta France. He's Rob Safta France. So we just took each other's.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice balance. Feel like a lot of Indian society needs to learn that.
I know.
Something you used to value but don't anymore.
Oh gosh, that's a good one. Being the most popular. I used to think it was so important, and I was desperate for it as a kid.
Yeah.
and now it doesn't matter. Also being cool.
Yes.
Oh my God. I wanted to be cool. I was so not cool. I was I wasn't a dweeb because I wasn't smart, but I was just not cool. And even now, somebody called me, my husband called me cool recently, and I was like, I'm not, and I don't care that I'm not. I've got much bigger issues than being cool. That's it.
I was thinking about mine for this one, and I think it's being young, in the sense of chasing youth is no longer something that and it's something that I'm actively trying not to do.
God, I wish I was there with you. I'm not. And it's just because of my kids. I really miss.
Oh, yeah.
I really miss a non-achy back.
Totally.
I was so active, and I really miss just not having knees that are dodgy.
Yes.
Like,
No. So I think physically, I think I was thinking of it more from living in LA from an aesthetic point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Chasing youth is something that I'm really working on not doing, because I think it's a recipe for failure to constantly keep chasing.
However, I'm sorry, I have to combat this.
Please.
I think that you come from a place of privilege, which is why you get to say that. You are, as I say in my culture, mashallah, beautiful, but also you have brown skin that doesn't age the way white skin does. We are lucky, and this is not a dig at white folks.
No.
We are lucky. We are
genetics.
privileged that we have brown skin that doesn't age the way theirs does. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't celebrate the fact that they are aging, and they should celebrate that they had their youth and now they've moved on. That's wonderful. But we have the luxury of skin that doesn't age as quickly.
Okay, fine. You
be
can
fair,
have that one.
To be fair.
Current fashion trend no-nos that you're seeing.
This is my honest answer. There really aren't no-nos. Everyone, if you can make it work.
No, you've seen something, please.
No, I mean, there's always Crocs, for sure. There's always Crocs. Or I hate them so much, and I don't care if Balenciaga or Gucci, I don't care who collabs.
Right.
I
No
always think they're
Crocs,
ugly.
peoples.
But almost everything, even if it's something that I wouldn't
That's
wear,
true.
if somebody's wearing it and they've styled it out, I'm like, you look wicked.
rocking
I wouldn't
it.
wear it, but you look wicked.
Yeah. But no Crocs, okay, people?
No Crocs.
You have such amazing skin, talking about skin.
That's nice.
Brilliant skin. And I think a lot of men could really benefit from knowing what your skincare routine is.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
I love talking about this. I'm so glad you asked. Okay.
Including Jay. He's looking for a new skincare routine. So
Okay,
this is going to be very useful.
I'm gonna give you something that is so, in my opinion, incredible, and it's a homemade remedy.
Okay,
so
go.
easy. Fire yogurt, or just any yogurt,
Yeah.
but Greek yogurt, really thick. So you get a cup of that, and then a green tea bag.
Mm-hmm.
I use Tazo. Use whatever green tea you want. I don't care. Steep the tea bag for a minute in boiling water, just to soften up the leaves. Take them out of the tea bag and put them in the yogurt. Mix it up. Keep it there for 5 minutes or so. Put as much on your face as where you can't see your skin anymore. So obviously around your eyes, don't put it around your eyes, but everywhere else, put it as if you were Mrs. Doubt. You know that scene,
Yes,
Mrs. Doubtfire?
love Mrs.
So
Doubtfire.
that level of thickness on your face. I keep it on 15, 20 minutes because I don't have really sensitive skin. Some people say that they can only put it on 5 to 10 minutes. Great. Do that once or twice a week. It is gonna change.
Oh my gosh,
your
I
skin
need to
forever.
do this.
Oh my gosh, I've been doing this since I was 20, and I think it's the reason why I don't break out very often and why
Really?
I have somewhat youthful skin. I'm 40, and I think my skin's pretty solid for a
It
40-year-old.
really is. Any other products that you use that you...
Yeah, there's a
Go
couple.
on.
So my face cleanser is a brand called Tata Harper. I'm not sponsored by these companies
No, yeah.
anyway. Tata Harper, their facial cleanser, I think is the best. It's all natural and it's incredible.
love Tata Harper.
Love. And then a couple of face creams. The Quench by a company called Beauty Bio. That's a cream I use at night, and it's killer.
Okay.
And then the ones I use in the daytime are Dr. Sturm.
Okay.
Dr. Sturm, I think, is the best day cream.
Okay,
that
great.
you can get.
I'm going to get all of this.
But please try the yogurt thing, and I need to
No,
know
I'm
if you
going
liked
to.
it. It's
I will try it.
Incredible.
I love skincare is something I love because I don't do makeup.
I don't do makeup either.
And so skincare is my go-to. I love trying new things. I love little home remedies. So I will try it.
It's a good one.
What emotion do you find difficult to deal with and why?
I really, really struggle with guilt.
Hmm.
I really struggle with it. And I try and fight it by convincing myself that I didn't do anything wrong, and that always leads me to tears. So guilt, just leaning in and accepting that I should feel guilty about it. It's okay to feel guilty about it, but then process it and don't make that mistake again. But it's much easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
Every time I start again from zero.
I can resonate with that. My guilt, a lot of it on a daily basis comes from not being with my family and as they're getting older.
Same.
And so the only way I've managed to really not let that take over and not make me cry every day is through action. So I always try plan things. So whether it's planning our family holidays or whether it's thinking about putting our family albums together, like it's such little things.
Yeah.
But because I can't actually change the situation and I'm not in a place where I want to, I have to turn those feelings into something that's actionable.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's helped me.
I love that.
When was the last time you had a really good cry?
Gosh, Friday. Are we on? No. Is it Saturday?
Saturday.
Thursday. I had a
Yeah.
really, really good cry with my
Okay.
cousin. Yeah.
Oh.
I needed it.
If you had to say one sentence of the key to being happy, what would you say?
Surround yourself with people that you love and respect and want the best for you.
And okay, I have this thing where I have categorized the type of crier that one can be. So there is the loud, ugly crier where it's just
I'm not that person.
the breathless where just
That's not me.
okay. The sniffler and snotty where there's water coming out from every hole.
That's me.
Okay, cool. The high pitched, which is
Okay, mine's a combo of those two.
the I'm not crying, you're crying crier. I have something in my eye. Never will admit they're crying. And then the silent cry that runs to the bathroom. You come back and you have they're the dramatic, the people who are actors. They can just really beautifully cry and have nothing ugly about it.
No, okay, I have been guilty many times on television, but it hasn't made television, of going to the bathroom to have a cry in the bathroom.
Okay, so which one would you say you're most likely?
I'm two of them. I'm the stuff
sniffler
coming
and
out from
snotty.
everywhere, but I'm also very high pitched at the same time.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
But that's my most common. But that's in real life. But when I'm filming a show,
It's running away.
It's very rare I'll
Yeah.
cry on camera. It's very rare I'll allow it. And you got me if I did.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything. Thank
so
you for
glad we did
sharing so
this.
much of yourself with us and for everything that you do. And I just want you to know that you really brighten up my day on social media when you do post.
Thanks,
and
Mama.
just seeing you whenever I do is such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was so good to be here. I can't even tell you. You actually asked great questions,
Oh,
which
did
of
I?
course
Thank
you did.
I was really nervous to have you on.
You know what? I'm not even kidding when I say I've probably done about 2,000 interviews within the last 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
And so often I sit in an interview thinking, they've asked me the same thing I've been asked 1,000 times. Why are they asking me this again? Thank you so much for your considered questions.
Thanks.